I think the beauty of pickleball is that it is actually played by people of all ages. It doesn't matter of all abilities. And I think in the USA, it has really picked up a lot as a social thing more than a sport. Like more like going to a park.
Yeah.
That's the environment it has created. So it's a lot of fun, lots of leagues, lots of establishments. So there's like courts, indoor courts available, and so like there's chicken and pickle. You could actually have a drink, have a food, and have a huge backyard, but pickleball courts in it. So it's a lot of fun, and if you get into it, I'm sure you're going to get hooked onto it, Jalan. And
Well,
in LA,
I tried.
Las Vegas, there's
Yeah.
lots of courts.
Well, I played it twice, and it was a thanks to, I forgot the name. There was a sponsor. They organized a kind of pickable for investors, and I wasn't sure if it's socializing or just that's just the location. So I was the only one who was kind of dressed up, and everyone came, with shorts ready to play ball, bringing their own rackets, or because it was behind the pickleball kind of court that they also have everything, right? We had like guides or teachers that kind of instructed us. Yeah, it was a very, for me, it was kind of the first interaction with that was here in Santa Monica. And I was like, so basically it's tennis for lazy people, or it's just making it more. It's a smaller tennis. It's like instead of one tennis court, now you can have two pickleball courts, and we can have fun because we don't need to run around, and it's just smaller and way more fun. But that was my first
Exactly.
impression. Since then, I kind of changed.
Exactly. Or you could say it's a bigger table tennis, and you don't need a table.
And you don't need the table. No, but yeah, and most that you only need 2 or 4 people, unlike cricket. That's a whole operation.
Yeah, it's its own production, right? So you have to like this weekend. We played just a friendly match, but then we had to have a lot of organization. 22 people have to come in. You have to have the kids. You have to reserve the grounds. All that stuff. Everybody has to arrive in time and play. Yep, it is quite a work, but it is a religion back from where I am. So people are very dedicated towards it. They get
Well,
ready. They will be ready to
nowadays,
sacrifice their time.
nowadays, what is it? Is it the 5 days, or are there shorter matches?
But there are shorter matches. Like as we spoke, there's a cricket match just concluded in the Indian Premier League, which is happening right
Mm-hmm.
now. Which is a lot of us are hooked onto it, hooked onto this in the mornings these days. Yeah, that's the shorter version. It's called T20, so it's about
Yes,
three hours.
yes. Yeah. Yeah, I remember there was a whole conversation about it back in the day, uh, which was, is it sacrilegious to make that type of a league? But then there was the commercial element that, so people can actually watch it. Don't spend like 5 days or 2 weeks just following one match. And now you can actually follow the baseball commercialization of the sport and make it during the evenings, during the mornings, have that combination. Because let's face it, you have a few billion people watching and
Yes,
following cricket. Yes.
yes,
But
that's true.
moving on and moving to technology and insurance. Mahesh, how about you talk about, it was actually a very cool name. And oh my God, I just blanked out. This is amazing. I love that when it happens. What's the name of your company, for God's sake? I can't
It's right
believe
there.
that I just,
Yeah, it's right there. It's right
I
there.
cannot see it. I cannot see
Okay,
it.
it's qBotica. Yeah, it's qBotica. Yes.
Botica. Yeah, great. So how about you tell us a little bit about qBotica? Because this is actually a
Yes.
pretty cool name. It's like getting that domain, the combination of Robotica, qBotica, and all the things. It's not easy to find a good domain name nowadays.
I think you're very we're spot on, Gillett, right? So 8 years ago, when I started the firm, right, I was actually on a flight to New York from Phoenix. Then I'm sitting about, okay, I'm going to start this new business. And if I had to start this business, what would I name it, right? So I know that from a topic standpoint, I want to get into robotic process automation. So something around robots. Um, and instantly I was thinking, oh, it could be robotica, right? And then I go robotica.com. Okay, taken. Robots.com, taken. All that stuff, right? So you talked about, you say domain name. That was
Hmm.
actually where I started this whole thing. And I go, I needed a .com domain. I needed a .com domain for my company, and the company name cannot be no more than like 8 letters, right? It has to be easy, maybe 3 syllables, right? So that's kind of how I wanted it to be. So like, and then I go like, okay, let's take robotica. And then I was trying A botica, B botica, C botica, maybe probably with a Bloody Mary in my hand. Probably I might have given up after a couple of them. I actually wrote ABCD on a piece of paper, and then I wrote Botica on another piece of paper on a napkin, and I was trying to match it. And then like, oh, actually, when it came up to qBotica, and then I was like, wow, that sounds perfect. I love cubes, and cube is also a representation of knowledge quality. And so I'm like, wow, that is pretty cool. So I would actually take qBotica. And then we looked at logos and like, well, something like a cube logo. So kind of really that's kind of where we started this whole thing. And I got the domain name back in those days. So lucky. So
Yeah.
there we are.
Yeah. I wonder if you would stuck with the qBotica, how would that work? But, it it is what it is, and it works because now you have the robotic process automation. What do you guys do?
Yeah. So we help actually automate business processes for clients, right? So we sometimes say that we take robots out of humans. So if you're in any company, small, big, medium, you have set of these people that are actually doing repeatable processes. They are actually looking at a document, taking information from it, entering into a system, and from that system they're taking something and then putting into another system, or doing a bunch of activities on an Excel sheet, look at a bunch of emails, bunch of data and stuff like that. Pretty robotic, I must say, and I'm sure you would agree, for a human to do it, right? So it's so boring, it's very repeatable tasks. So we actually help to take that robot out of the humans, and so we actually take all those repeatable processes and automate it for our clients, whether it's claims processing, whether it is invoice processing, order entry, custom document generation, so on and so forth, like codes, providing codes, all those things. They are pretty well written rules. They follow a
Hmm.
specific standard operating procedure, so you actually follow that to get the job done. The systems or the technology has become very advanced, so they can not only follow rules, they can also adapt based on what's coming up, and take decisions and take the actions. So that's what we do for our clients.
So you're coming in, you automate processes that they have. You do customized work. You use. Are you also using your own software, your own platform, third-party platforms? Who are you using, and how do you work with the client?
Absolutely, Gillet. So we actually are what is called an automation as a service provider. So my objective is to provide automation as a service, right? So in the past, if you think about maybe the insurance industry or a financial services industry, they actually outsourced a lot of their work to third-party providers, saying that, okay, this is my finance
Yep.
F&A team, I'm giving to Accenture, or I'm going to give it to Deloitte. This is order entry, I'm going to give this company, or if it's a customer service, then I'm going to give it to Teleperformance, right? So they used to take processes and give it off to them. So if you take the same principle Here, it was a combination of those companies bringing in technology and people and infrastructure to run those processes for the clients. So I wanted qBotica to replicate that process, outsourcing those processes, instead bot sourcing them, right? So if you have to create bots that will actually perform those actions. So in order to do that, we actually developed our own software. So we actually have our own robotic process automation software and a platform called Document AI, and which can actually read information from documents, extract it, and assemble the data to be inserted into systems. Yet, if you think about it, there is only so much like a small firm like us can do in this industry, right? I'm not actually gone into the aggressive growth strategy and all that, because we are not only looking at this as a product but also as a service, right? So I want to actually do
Mm-hmm.
this end to end. So I have my I will reach my own limitations if I try all that within my own software. So we also partnered with industry's best companies. Like UiPath is a huge
I
partner.
can see it on
So we
your
actually
T-shirt.
work. Yes. So yep, it's there on my shirt,
Yeah,
right? So UiPath, we're one of the platinum partners of UiPath, and right now I think it's called Diamond. So we're on the premium partners of UiPath. So we take their software, integrate into our platform, and provide that as a managed service to our clients. So our clients can get the best of the breed, software, and the people. So we are a very niche, specialized implementers. So we can actually get into very niche things like the latest things like agentic AI. We already have actually gone to production with agentic AI implementations. Very, very advanced level of extraction. It's called generative extractions. So we actually have
you
done that
know, you
for our
know that now
clients.
we need to ask the question of what is agentic AI.
Of course, yes, yes. So agentic AI is how, like, say, let me just kind of really give you what automation or normal work used to be. In the past, you actually tell a robot, these are the set of rules that you have to follow. Okay, go into the system, do this. When you enter this outcome, or and you find this, then go here. So it's all very rules based, workflow based implementations, right? So the machines will follow those workflow, follow that standard operating procedure, and get the job done. But what used to happen is, when it gets an input that it did not wasn't really programmed for, or if it actually gets an intermediate step or some interference that comes in, it cannot adapt and move on. It will actually has to really follow that. And it's just like using an apprentice, right? So if you're using an intern, you tell them this is your job, and if they are finding a scenario that they have not encountered before, they have to come back to you and asking, hey, this is a different type of scenario, how do I actually handle this, right? So they get back to them. So that's kind of what it used to be. They used to be like interns performing the actions. But now, with the advent of technologies like LLMs, generative AI, and so on and so forth, AI actually is now much more capable, and it is actually much more accessible. Actually, these technologies existed in the past, but you have to spend millions of dollars to acquire those technologies. Now it's actually available to us very easily. So now what we could actually do is, we can give the automation or the AI the objective, the goal. The goal is to process this order. The goal is to post this invoice as a payment. And then, based on its goal, it will then start to take actions. So, if something is not right, then it will actually say, okay, I can actually contact the sender. I can actually escalate this to the finance manager. So it can take its action. So it's now focusing on the goal and the outcome, rather than focusing on the steps that it needs to take to get the action step. It might even take the same steps, but it is more goal oriented rather than step oriented, if you will. That's a major difference. And so it's combination of it uses like a chat interface. You could actually tell it, hey, can I do this? And then you don't have to say it in a specific fashion. In the past, you actually ask it to say, I have to fill this form out or to put this keyword here for it to know that's a trigger for it to take an action. Now you don't have to do it. You can actually have a normal conversation, whether it's over voice, chat, email, whatever that form is. Then it will understand what's your goal. Based on that goal, it will take you and get the task done. And the same bot could actually be used to do many things. It can be an HR work, it could be a finance work, it could be a marketing work. You could actually talk to it and it will know what's the objective of the requester. Based on that, it can then shift gears. Instead of it saying, sorry, I cannot process this. I'm a marketing bot. You are telling me in a HR task. I cannot do this, right? That's what in the past used to be. Now, oh,
Mm-hmm.
you want an HR thing? Okay, I know how to do this. Okay, let me just ask Lee. Then it will actually invoke the HR aspects, or if it's already it can handle it, it will actually take it there, or it can actually convert or kind of really divert them to the right person. So that's the whole beauty of this new concept called agentic automation. It's more adaptive automation, if you will.
Yeah, cool. No, that completely makes sense, especially when you have those specific, as you called it, invoking the different agents or the specific models that know how to handle that problem and make it
Exactly.
happen. Now, we connected, needless to say, about insurance. You're serving other industries. Who are your clients in the insurance space? Is that carriers, agencies? What type of clients and services do you, how do you, let's say it this way. Who are they and what's the value proposition?
Correct. So we actually have very large carriers, as well as a couple of small agencies and brokers. So it doesn't matter who they are, because if you think about the industry uses one a lot of manual labor, two lots of documents, lots and lots of documents, beyond what we can think imagine, right? So, and a lot of content as well, right? So there's a lot of content that they have to read, understand, and then take action, whether it is policy documents, riders, and so on and so forth. A lot of evidence that you have to look at, make, establish, context, and based on that context, is provide an action. And the speed at which you have to do them, right? That's very also important. So, so I think given that extent, this technology could be applied widely. We also have a product, um, called Customer Experience Companion, CX Companion,
Hmm.
that can actually help brokers or agents or even like customer service professionals at these large carriers to kind of really act as a companion, guide them through this. I know that today there are like software like which will help them say, like script reading software. Okay, say this based on this. They come up with pop outs, but those are things that are only like words or scripts and phrases. They don't take any actions, right? So the actions the human have to take, have to take the action, and it also differs to their ability to think fast and take that action. So, for example, a CX companion bot could then figure out, okay, is this a claim? Okay, now ask them for the evidence as they actually, okay, let me send an email for the evidence collection. So you send the email for evidence collection. As they upload the evidence, actually the AIs can quickly look at them. All right, I think it seems to be genuine. I can figure these things out. You could actually now tell the customer this, right? Ask them for a bank account number or ask them for their location, and then based on that location, I find the nearest repair company, or I can actually send in a repair person or whatever it is, service people. So I can actually can not only guide them what the next best step is, but also take that action on behalf particular agent and quickly do everything. Okay, now I'm going to file this. Okay, I'm going to give them a replacement home, like in a rental home, or a replace, rental car arrangements, whatever is needed, all that kind of stuff. I send them a food coupon, or stay, like may arrange a hotel stay for them for the next couple of days. All that can happen pretty quickly, and these, because these are machines, there's no wait time. It could do all those things at the same time. Set up a rental home, set up a, like a, Uber coupon or whatever is needed, send their service people to their house. All that can happen at the same time, at the same instant. And so, it doesn't matter. So we could actually work with brokers to create quotes, send them 5 quotes, from different things based on what they like. We could go ahead and write those codes up if it's needed within seconds, and without having to wait to open those, the different systems and put things in.
Now, you started your career in the outsource industry, the Accentures, the Cognizants of the world. And then 8 years ago, you started your own company. And by the way, I appreciate that you call it a firm or a company and not a startup, because you're providing a different type of services than here is a product and let me raise millions of dollars from VCs and jump into that. But actually, okay, here is a business. This is what we do. That's the services, and no bullshit and fluff work. How was the jump? What made you? Because you've been there almost your entire career. What made you
Yes.
wake up one day working in that type of an industry, go like, I'm going to start my own company and do something similar but different?
Exactly. Okay. Yeah, very interesting question, Gilad. I think I've told this story several times, but every time I say it, I get quite excited about it, because that shift really changed the game, changed the life for me, because it liberated from me from many things. I must say, I think uh, growing in a corporate career, I actually did pretty well. I grew to from an intern to the top management of a very large company. I did everything right, I must say, to keep growing and do great things. However, I was missing something. I was actually feeling like I had been, in handcuffs, if you will, right? Can't move, can't take decisions that easily. So I wanted to do something different. And every time I try to do something different, the the pressures of being a middle class person really comes in, right? So you are like, okay, I have family commitments. I have to pay my mortgage. I have to pay for my car. I have to pay for my kids' education. All of that comes in. By the time I mustered a courage, I was nearly 40. So I'm like, okay, at this point, I do this? And then people say, nah, your kid's college education is coming. That's the biggest expense of your lifetime. And you cannot do this at this point. And I'm like, no, it's now or never. I'm going to do this. Right. So a couple of things helped me. I actually was in a course at Harvard, shoulders with very big people, like they were CXOs and very large companies. So then when I met them and I having conversations with them, I'm like, oh wow, I am looks like I could be one of them if it chose to be. um, or I could actually start my own business. So one of those weekends in Boston at the Harvard Square, I actually bumped into a library and looking at the books, and I saw this book called Entrepreneur Roller Coaster. And nothing much to do in the cold winter climate of Boston. I actually took that book and started reading it. Oh, man, Darren Hardy really captured and he changed the game for me, I could say. So he relayed the trials and tribulations of my mind so nicely, so effectively. And I'm like, okay, here we go. I think I could actually take the plunge, and it's not going to be easy, like the roller coaster, but if I don't get on it, what's the fun, right? So let's just jump into it and see what happens. And here we are, 8 years, 150 employees, decently well recognized brand. And I think all that fear has been conquered to an extent, Gil, but not yet. The job is not done yet.
No, it's
I'm
not.
not a, like a multi-X valued company or making millions or billions of dollars, but yet I think I have the freedom. I earned the freedom to be here.
Well, I think that, well, there are a few things on that, right? First of all, start by selling your first company, then selling your second company, and then you have that feeling every time there is a new step of success and failure, which I will ask about failures in a second, or to be precise, lessons learned or successes that follow those failures. And then there is like what my wife from time to time jokes that, you have your midlife crisis. And now instead of buying a red sport car, you start another company. Then I reminded her that I have that midlife crisis every couple of years since I was in my 20s or 30s. So it's a little bit different, but it's a good midlife crisis in a sense. Or you can take the analogy of, it's yet another baby to have. No, it's brilliant. So if we are talking about HBS and highlights and what you can and cannot do in the beating or biting cold of Boston's winter, beside running on the Charles River and just practicing for the next marathon, um, what do you have a good lesson learned or a failure that you managed to turn to success that you can share with the audience?
Yeah, great. I think the first lesson that I would say is get started. I think the most difficult step is not scaling a company. It's not, doing big things. It's about taking that first step. And that's the most difficult part. And every time you just, you have to commit to it and position yourselves towards it. And I think, and then you'll be surprised how the universe will actually help you, reach that goal. It is amazing. Like, and I tell this story. It's a real story. Back in 1997 or 98, I actually visited the city of Mumbai from Chennai, and I went into Mumbai and I got into this local trains. And you would, if you see those trains, they're packed with people. Right? It's like literally packed, and you wouldn't actually think anything of that. You would never see anything of that sort in any other city, than in Mumbai, where the trains come in every 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and the efficiency in which people jump onto the train and get off and just move on with their life. It is a sight to watch itself. So I actually go there and I'm like, oh my God, how am I even going to get into this train? And then it's like, luckily I had a friend and she told me how to get on the train, how to
Jump.
actually, you would be surprised. You'd say that's, common sense to know how to get onto a train, but getting onto a train in a busy city like Mumbai, it's not easy. You need to have a skill. But then about like, about in a journey about to end, I think. Then I was like, she said like, hey Mahesh, can you just turn around this way? Look at this way. And then I'm like, why is she asking me to turn the other way from, I was just having a conversation with her. And she said, like, can you turn around that way? And I'm like, before even I could react, right? I was thrown out of the train, and my friend is still on the train, and I'm like, what just really happened? And then I actually had to wait, and then she came back, and then I asked like, what really happened? I asked you to turn. Why didn't you turn? And then said like, what's the difference? And yeah, the way that you look, if you're looking outside at the door, people think that you are actually going to get out and they're going to push you out. They're pushing you out on that door. If you turn the other way, they know that you are not ready to go out, so they're going to go around you and they will get out, but they will not take you with them. So that's the story. If you really want to look in the right direction, the world, the universe will help you get there. You look at the wrong direction, and I'm sure you get off the wrong station. And I would say that it's important that we position ourselves towards the goal that we want to be.
I love that, because if you're coming from outside, you will never know it, and it's so important, from beside understanding the local culture and where things are. But you need to point, you need to look at the right direction. In otherwise, if
Exactly.
you will never go where you need to go, or stay on the train in this case,
Exactly.
if you don't look in
Exactly.
the right
Exactly.
direction. And sometimes people have no idea where to look. I love it.
Yes.
Pre-
Yes, that is
So
true. And the
simple,
second
so
thing that
simple.
you
Yes.
asked, yeah. So the second aspect that you asked about adversities, right, and issues, how do you actually conquer them? And I think that adversity is the greatest motivator than anything other. From a person like me, I actually do the best when there's when the odds are against me, rather than when the odds is actually for me. Funnily enough, but so I think there have been many scenarios where we actually had, like COVID, for example. My business got crippled completely. We had a heavy services based approach. Everybody here, my contracts all got canceled, because a lot of that work could be done by, like, a lot of work was not needed because a lot of them were not really taking those services from our clients. So the clients didn't need my services. Things got stalled. And there were scenarios where I had to literally, like, think about, our profits went way down. Our cash flow was crippled. We had no other options to other than probably closing it down. Yet, we prevailed. We prevailed by taking some, small steps, talking to people, telling them what's needed, and sometimes face the adversity by its, like, just go and explain it to people that, hey, this is what I'm facing. Here are the options that we have. Could we actually work on this way? And you'll be surprised at, if unless you become very upset, angry, and all that stuff does not help. I think you have to look at it very objectively, and seek great people. There's people that are available, and there are people that are obviously going to take advantage of a situation. So it's all up to you to figure out. And I have seen that also. I've seen that people take equity of your company, to do things and yet not deliver what you need. I've seen those as well. But then you have to come through that and keep the fall or the impact as little as possible, and keep making the progress. I think making progress over perfection is important, and to accept that not every time things will go your way is also important. I think the acceptance and able to take on the risks, it's face the risks, is important as well.
Wonderful. Mesh, thank you very much for joining me today, sharing your knowledge, talking about qBotic. Is it a qBotica or qBotic? I keep messing it up.
qBotica, yes.
qBotica. So simple, completely makes sense, and I keep messing it up. Unbelievable. So, Mahesh, thank you very, very, very much for joining me today, sharing your lessons, your story, your journey, and of course, qBotica and what you guys doing with the company. I hope that we'll see you in one of the next insurance-related conferences or robotic process automation. It was a pleasure chatting with you.
Of course, both of them. And I'm also, like, we work with a very, very large insurance company in the world. And we hope by this fall, we both will get on the stage together at a large conference. If we do that, then I could actually be able to say their name to the world, and celebrate our successes in this particular domain together. But I truly appreciate the opportunity that you have given, and being recognizing and recognize my voice here. So happy to be here with you. Thank you.